Right, so welcome everyone to the fourth session of the day. No, the third session of the day. It's called Palaces of the People, and it's important to us because the Reading and Writing Centre is in the library, and we are very keen on making sure that we work with the library, and the library works with us, and it works for everybody. I think as you're coming at a good point in the festival, that we've had the storytelling and changing the space, we've had the Wits portal and thinking about making different words central and unmuting different cultures and bringing more conversations together. And what better place for conversations and reservoirs of African knowledge and knowledge here and windows onto the world than the library. So this is absolutely a conversation. People are welcome to interrupt us at any point, but I'm very, very happy to have my lovely colleagues with me who are so willing to do this. So, Bongi, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Bongi Mputi. I'm a research visibility and open scholarship manager here in the library. So our unit with my colleagues working in different spaces in the library, they will introduce themselves. We are just here to make sure that as a university, in all levels, no matter who you are, we are here to assist and help as far as the information, actually contextualized information, to in the presence of the group. So we are still here to assist them. Let me just leave it there.
Greetings everyone. My name is Pamela. I'm the Wits Library Institutional Repository Specialist. My manager is Bongi. And then I have passion of reading. And then I told my colleagues before that I've been in writing center where we engage with poems. And then there's also a database that you can add them so that they will know what is happening. So when I received this invitation, it was not easy for me to accept, but with my manager, I always tell her that you must remind me because you know my schedule. So what she did today was just to say, "But I'm gonna come where we started." That is why I came running. So we hope as the library and with my expertise on the theme of the Writing Center for this event will make impact during our conversation.
Hi everyone, my name is Fouad, but you can call me Fifi. I joined Wits University on the 1st of August, so I am fairly new. I'm an acquisitions librarian. I work at the healthcare. So what my section does is that we manage the library's acquisitions of information resources, including databases and books. So whatever that you can access through the library that has to do with information, we manage that.
Good morning everyone. My name is Lerato. I am a cataloging and metadata librarian. Our role in the division is to organize information resources and in order to provide access. So all the collection that is in the library, we are the ones organizing it, including your e-books, everything we are responsible for that.
So this session is thinking about what the library means and our relations to libraries and what we'd like the libraries to be in the future. And I think Fouad should be part of this conversation, but I'll just which one you like. So I thought we maybe have 3 sections of the discussion. So and it's absolutely open for everyone here to think about what the library means. Because as Bongi has said, you know, that previously somebody high up in the university told me that books don't matter anymore. Everything's going to be on. I'm not naming them. They're not at the university anymore. But they said there's no place for books. as you see, we've got lots and lots of books in the Writing Centre, and we want to have different ways of telling stories and all the rest of it. So I think our beginning discussion would be what do books mean to you? What do libraries mean to you? What are your entry points into the libraries? So Vicky, for example, you come from a background of the public library system. So maybe say something about what libraries and books mean to you. Maybe talking about how you began to what books really moved you, or anything you want to say about the importance of libraries and why you're attracted to libraries.
I think for me, what attracted me to libraries, or what books mean to me, or where I come from with books, is that
Good.
my grandma used to read for us a lot. So I remember growing up at the Eastern Cape, she will read like the whole day, these novels, Jalala-Mawele and all that. Then in the evening we will sit. Now it's time for her to tell us what she read in the book and all that. And back then, it didn't mean much. But when you sit now, you realize that she was not just a reader, but she was such a good storyteller. Because I remember the things that she told us from all those novels. It happened that I moved to Durban to live with my mom when I was going to high school. She was reading a lot of newspapers, Zulu newspapers, especially. She will go on, she was a nurse, she will go on night shift. When she comes in the morning, especially on weekends, then we knew it was story time. She will tell us all these, stories that she was reading throughout the week, and we'd be like, where did she hear that? Where did she hear that? So later on, I applied at university for library and information studies. And that's when I realized that, what, I am a reader, I like reading. And I remember when I moved to Durban, don't laugh, I couldn't speak English. So the English that I can speak today, I can say that I learned that through reading. And today I hold a master's in library and information studies. And all that writing, and the thinking, I got from reading. So for me, life is very important. I think they will always have a role in communities, not just academic libraries, but public libraries. They do wonderful things in the communities. They are welcoming spaces. They are safe spaces in some communities, especially because I worked in Cape Town. We have, libraries in the red zones, like your Kgomotso, gangsters and all that. But people find, they feel safe when they are at the library. Because even whatever that is happening in communities, nobody touches the library.
Gosh.
When there were, these unsettlements in the communities and they were banning clinics and banning this, we will hear as the library department that one community member said, you do not touch the library. Do nothing to the library, that is for our kids. So I think they're very important. I love them. Not just because I work for them, but it's what they do to communities. They uplift them, they bring hope. We live in a very hopeless world, but there's libraries for that.
I also love that you began with the grandmothers. I've got a feeling we've got to bring the grandmothers in, and the grandmothers who tell stories.
And now I'm telling them to my kids, and I'm like, why am I like my grandmother?
It's good. It's good.
I think I'm gonna pick up from Fiki. What does library mean to me? Looking back, especially in Africa, I'll start there in Africa. Knowledge was transferred from generation to generation to grandma. So there was no libraries. So through storytelling, they will learn things of the past. So if you look at the West, libraries are associated with civilization. So if you study the ancient libraries, you find out that very few people were able to access libraries. It was those people who had money, educated. And in the current environment, I think libraries are very important as a place of learning. Looking back in my own experience with an encounter with libraries, I think I was at high school when I started using libraries. It was a place of discovery and curiosity when I first started using libraries. The lot, when I discovered it, the immense information, books, it was quite a lot, in terms of subjects and all of that. So, and the environment, it was a quiet place where people, they are learning, they are studying. So I felt interested with the library and also with how the information is organized. And during that time, it was early 90s. And the internet was not free. So in library, you get free internet. So yeah, I think library, they've got an important role to play in South Africa to provide information. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, I will also add from yeah, so for me to become part of writing and reading, we started in 2 years' time I'll be 50, so I will prepare the cake. So it started long ago when I was at UNISA. I met this professor of English department. I think his name is Mr. Peter Polly. He introduced me to writing and reading the books. We collected books that people thought they are not valuable. And then I remember when he negotiated with the library management of that time, it was in the early 2000s. Yeah. So they gave him a space, but they said that this junk of yours, we're just giving you 2 months. Otherwise, you need to look for another space. So we started a project where we encourage students to come and take books. And then, mind you, those books were not cataloged. It was just a risk also. And the students started to come in and then to learn that there are books that are very, very helpful. And then that writing and reading center, it become now it is part of the unit within the UNISA English department. And then as I did follow up, it's just unfortunate that Prof. Peter is passed on, but this legacy still lives on. So I took such a thing of making sure that the books are available to the level where I joined the community library at a place called Veale in Pretoria. That is where I started to see the need for books, because during those early 2000 years, we were not in electronics. We were still depending on newspapers and the annuals and all those telephone directories. And then the time that I used to hate was when because we were next to the primary school, was when the afternoon bell rings. They know those kids are coming now. Now they have to be their parent now. They are going to come and look for information. So what I'm trying to say is that to be in the library is a calling. It's not something that you go for money. And my colleagues will tell you that most of librarians are not earning as much as we're supposed to be. But because of the love and passion of offering information to the one who needs it, we don't undermine the person coming to the library to say, I'm looking for information on how to bake a cake. Because the moment I say, why do you come and ask me about baking cakes? I won't give you relevant information. So I have to put your question into my situation. So, oh, this person needs how to bake a cake, meaning that he or she knows that there's a cake, but she now needs to make a good cake. So it is up to me as a librarian to offer information that will be of importance, so that if it's about a school project, that project, when it's read to other learners, they will see that this person went to the extent of looking for information. Such information comes from the library. I remember when I was under my manager at the community library, a guy called Samukelo. We came in partner with the South African libraries. We wrote a book, and it was just like it was about competition about library weeks. So we wrote a book about in Africa it was called Welcome in the Bibliothek, Welcome to the Library, and it was about someone who was looking for how to fish. And then I said to myself, what do you want us to write a book about how to fish? But mind you, that book was taken serious by the South African National Library. It was given an ISBN number, and that book was voted among the top 3 in the South African National Library Week of that year. It was in 2018, Sister Wong. Yeah. So that book was talking about from your grandma to the granddaughter, looking for information of how to fish. And they started, at the end of the day, all these people, they ended up going to the library. When they reached the library, they found, no, there's a book about how to fish. And then they read that book, and then they went to get more fish that at the end of the day, they assisted the whole community. So in short, what I'm saying that never underestimate the physical book. Yes, we're going to digital, which I think we'll deal with that one when we go to the next. But the book is important stuff. Even myself, I do. Sometimes I do afraid to print, but I say, as long as no one looking for me, I'm going to print. But I know that I'm advocate of digital, but I still need that print.
Yes, both.
You still need the print, because there are people who, I don't want to talk about digital divide, which means it's a gap between those who can afford and those who can't afford. I can have access to my phone, but what if my phone does not have a time? What if my battery decides to die? I can't have access to my phone. So I still need a print. But the problem with print is what? It is not updated immediately.
It's not what?
Updated. The information is not current. But the question is that, can anyone update the Bible? The Bible still remains. Whatever you go with that online, you find the same in the beginning. It's still the same. Thank you.
My colleagues have covered a lot. Let me not go to the history. And just to say, currently, I'm reading a book that is very inspiring to me. And this book is written by one of my friends, family friends in my church. And the title of the book, it says, "My Soul Knows It Very Well." It's coming from a psychological perspective, background. And, you know, we as people, we tend to ignore our background, our past, and just wondering why this is happening here without considering it could be coming from the past. So that's what I am engaging in that space. And how do I get time in my so busy schedule? I walk here from here to Faraday. We are familiar with the town. Faraday, it's right at the end of the town. So when I get there, I get to a taxi. It takes about 30 minutes to get home. So that's when I engage in my space. I will address more my perspective in terms of the print and the digital in the next question. However, I'm just addressing the question of reading is very important, because you are not just reading the text that is there, it also talks to you. It's sort of a silent voice talking to you to do something about yourself. that's where I am currently.
I think, if there are any thoughts from people in the room as well, before, the next part of the conversation will be about digitization and hard copies, and the last one about the future. But this beginning part was, what do libraries mean to you? And how do you see the role of the library, the space of the library? Or any questions you have for any of the librarians here. Our first talk this morning, they were talking about space. Is there any way that we can work with the space of the library to make it more of a responsive resource for everyone? There's an idea that I think coming out of Fike's work, that the libraries are anchor institutions, that they're, wherever they are, they're there to serve the people around them, to help them fish, bake cakes, have a place of safety, windows onto the world. Do you have any thoughts now about your current relation to libraries, or what you would like this library to be more? Anyone have a thought? Yes.
Generally, it's a thought I once had when I was once hired by this library during the library week to speak about libraries, and I chose to speak about protests in libraries. If we remember, in South Africa, the library is usually a principal target of protests, whereby people will usually actually ban the library. It's usually the easiest target in the township. It's based on many reasons, this thing. One, the government hardly protects the library because the library is never seen as important in the community. What inspires the people to begin with the library when they are banning stuff during protests? It's usually based on the fact that the library is maybe not important to them because most of them are usually illiterate or people that don't like reading. But at the same time, we can be inspired by the fact that they actually know that the library is important, that the government will feel the pain if they ban the library. So what can the library do? Maybe the library should actually try to teach protesters how to protest so that the library can be able to protect itself by collecting books that can teach people about peaceful protest. Thank you.
I think with regard to space, perhaps there's something about the architecture, the facade, if it's welcoming or it's pushing people back, and I think also the reception area. So I think it has to do with the design. What does the actual design say, and if it allows, because I think libraries have a reputation of being space of secrecy, of folding. So how do we, and sometimes mostly I feel sleep in the library. So I think it's to do with the carpet.
I'm just thinking perhaps like on that point, it is really imposing these kind of vertical lanes can also be very, very difficult to navigate. So maybe it's about changing the bookcase structure to kind of, I think William Cullen has a beautiful kind of embracing feeling because it's kind of all around you and kind of get a little bit more dynamic. Could possibly help the access, and it can feel less clinical, less rigid in that way.
Lanes a bit prison-like as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm quite intimidated by libraries, actually. I think because, like, for me, a library has always been the books in my family's homes. And so when I went to the library, I was going to a family member's house and looking at their shelves. And when I was a kid, okay, you can only take from these shelves, but then you have access to the whole thing. But it was synonymous with food and care. And you're right, even just things up on the wall, and it feels homely. And sometimes this one can feel a little bit, not sterile, but a little bit, now I can't even bring my warm drink in. And of course, I understand the logistics behind it, but I think that's one of the things that grappling with the space is on one hand, of course I understand the kind of project around safekeeping and looking after the books and the resources in particular, but perhaps spaces also that allow sitting with a coffee and just curling up and reading.
So for me, the first time I went to a library, I was surprised because at home we had books in Arabic. My dad is Palestinian. And I go to the library, and I grew up in Germany, and so there's all German, you have Italian books, you have French, you know? And then I go like, where are the people who are living in this town? Where are their languages? We have Turkish immigrants. They were actually called to Germany to work after the Nazis destroyed the whole country. You know the story. And they are called guest laborers, but there were no Turkish books, there were no Yugoslavian books, there were no... So at that time, it was basically European languages only. And then later, going to study in Austria, I realized how then other knowledges is being pushed out. So they have a whole crowning, a gown from 1400 something of one of those royals, don't ask me who, and there's an Arabic inscription. Because at that time, in Spain you had, everyone spoke Arabic, Hebrew, and Latin, and Greek. It was basically normal. And then going to study, I read that basically colonization eradicated not only languages, but also writings. Africa has the richest writing systems all over the globe. I mean, we are sitting here in the middle of writing in the cloth, which is the Kuba cloth.
Yes.
And if you actually, there's a beautiful book at Cullen, Inscribing Meaning, by the Smithsonian on all the African writing systems. So like, it's like a story where at first I loved the libraries because I went there for reading the comics, the Asterix, and you know, like all those detective novels and crazy stuff. And then after a while you realize it's actually it's a diet, like a formula. And actually the world has so much more to offer in terms of script, in terms of also orality in the library. Because now also you have not only recordings, but you have storytellers in libraries. I think you should have storytellers are libraries. And so I think in a sense, what I dream of is if you look at Chimurenga project, and by the way, you can see here there's students from the fine art department, third-year students, who did an intervention in the library.
This used to look very neat and different.
So
and now
we did a workshop at Chimurenga, the Cape Town-based magazine founded by Antonio Jabe, basically started to, in partnership with Cape Town Library at that time, think like, how can we reimagine the library? And then they went there with youth from surrounding high schools, and then asked the youth, like, what are the topics that you are concerned with? Love, partnership, jealousy, you know, hate, joy. And then they went and asked the students, take books and reorganize the classification system. So you had, you know, sadness, and so sorry, Connie. I know your system is, I would never, much respect to you, I would never study information system because I would go crazy to think where to put it. But what I'm trying to say is, like that kind of reimagining how to access a library. Like you have a book on fishing, next to a book on stories of fishing, next to a book on folk tales of fishing, next to a book of poetry. So I'm not saying please rearrange. I'm saying how to make the library accessible. Because we need, obviously, order, because if you are in a rush and you need for your paper, you know, you need Stuart Hall 1978, then you need that now, and you can't go through fishing and cooking and the jealousy. So what I'm trying to say is the dimensionalities of library between the different forms of communicating, writing, scripts, languages, is I think we are still in a very kind of white colonized way of separation of also the modalities of our seeing, hearing, feeling. And I heard it in your stories. I mean, everyone's stories were very much about it. So if you are here later, in Annabelle and Mai's workshop. Everyone is invited to do a theme where we'll explore that a bit further. So yeah, sorry, it was a bit long.
That's very good. Zimitri.
I really like your contribution, Fouad, because what really shocks me is that when I was teaching our honours class at the beginning of this year, students had not been to the library. And they've been at Wits for 4 years. And what, does this feel familiar? And so what we've done in our courses is to incorporate. So we now take the students there.
Yes.
But there still is, you know, there's a distant relationship to the library, and I think that the idea of having different forms of libraries inside of the library is a really good idea, because one can, you know, one can acquire duplicates of books. So you can still have the Dewey system, but then you can make like a round space with chairs where people can actually have poetry on fishing and, you know, how to start fishing and how to clean your fishing rod and blah, blah, blah. So it's about really widening our imagination of the space. A friend of mine, you know, walked into my study at home, and all he did was he put the 2 bookshelves that were next door to one another, like that. He put them at an angle, and it just made such a difference to the space. Is that it's not, you know, linear. It's not linear, because linearity is actually the dominant way of thinking about the world and of organizing.
Yes. No, I should. Boxing, yes, we don't want to box.
Yeah.
There's a little essay at the back of the brochure, which I wrote in 2019, thinking about ways of integrating the Writing Centre with the library. And there's a nice quote at the beginning from, is it? It's on page 12. To remember, to reason, and to imagine. So it was Jefferson. So when Jefferson created his library, he catalogued it according to memory, reason, and imagination. It's beautiful, isn't it? But one idea out of that little research I did, which is happening globally, because I think globally libraries are under threat and are being underfunded, and we need to make them more relevant for people wherever they are. But it's a very simple idea of scooping. So you don't have to totally change the library, but have a scoop into one database where there's an exhibition. Or maybe have a little exhibition here that's to do with orality and storytelling. But just so not change the library, not radically change the library, but have different windows into different ways of reading. And they can be experimental. So I think that's the point, that there's no right or wrong here, but there are different entry points, and all of us want those entry points. We want to find ways to make doors for different people to come in and then explore by themselves. But we've got to make those doors. They have this term scooping, which I actually think works digitally as well. So there's this huge database, we have no idea what's on it. But you could have somebody scooping doing a little map, sampling or something like that. And similarly, the grandmothers. I think we mustn't forget the grandmothers or the storytelling. There needs to be ways in the library where we bring in the ancestors, the ways of connecting with books, the stories that have been muted. We find those ways, so little temporary ways in.
If I can comment.
Please.
Thank you so much for all the ideas and the comments that you are raising. And I must say, actually, as a librarian for over 20 years experience now in the academic environment, the things that we are saying are not new to us. These are the conversations that we are having within the library. Coming to the point of space, we do have reimagined so many times in different ways. However, the trick is in the reality of doing it, and because of the limited or the constraints in terms of the budget and the space itself, where the shelving, it's what it is because of the limited space. And the books that we have, it's a lot compared to opening up the space for other options. We really are looking into that. However, is it possible at this stage? We don't know. And then coffee, the space, it's been one of the things that we once discussed even here in this academic environment. It's as I'm saying, all the things that you are mentioning, including the pleasure reading corner. It's an academic environment, and all it is assumed that all our books are about the academic input or output. However, as a library, I think it's, I think this discussion, we did it last year when we wanted to do, we have once a year a library week around March, and around the theme, and we're asking colleagues. Unfortunately, I'm no longer part of this physical part of the library, but we do share the spaces to say, can we, for this event, do a pleasure reading corner? This is one of the things that I am putting on the table to the rest of the librarians within the university, because these are the spaces that will bring us back to the library, so that it's no longer intimidating, I hope. But it helps to have this discussion, because now at least we have this perspective to say, it's not just coming from us as librarians, but also the library users, they need to be welcomed in these spaces. So I'm happy that we are having this discussion. Thank you so much, Prof. Pam. Okay. Can
Zimitri and
I am being very selfish in my question here. Next year, the anthropology department celebrates 100 years of existence.
Okay.
And we all know anthropology's, shadow and its most amazing history and turnaround at Wits. So might it be possible for us to have one day in Library Week?
Okay.
100 years of anthropology, and we bring out all these old, ugly things, and we also have the more beautiful things.
If I can just respond, I don't know if the colleagues want to.
Yeah, I was just thinking also, normally, usually, like for example, you have AIDS Day. It's done more in public library. We will sort of identify or collect those books and then we put them on display. Yeah, it's done. It's possible it can be done. Yes.
Okay. We'll take it up to management, because the decision is not ours. You requested library management to for us to come here and do this discussion. As we collect your ideas, your comments, we'll take them back to them. And I think it's a brilliant idea to collaborate. You also mentioned the incorporating of the library in your shock. It's all over that a student at PhD level has never been in the library and doing a PhD. Yes, I was working at architecture library for many years when we address the students, and I'll check such things. And the person will be like, yes, I'm doing my second year in PhD. Prof. Pam, in some cases, will co-present. And they've never been in the library. And I'll be asking, where are you getting your information? That's a very interesting part, and I don't know how does it happen. However, while I was in that space, one of the things that I tried to do was to integrate the first year, what we call it, information literacy course, to the academic development. Patricia was talking about academic development unit. The faculty of EBE, they've got this common course for all first years. So they gave us as a library the space to not just come and deliver a 5-minute talk, but would engage with the students for about 5 weeks as a library. So we started that in that faculty for, especially from architecture, the BE schools, the 2 schools, which is construction and architecture. So that I left, and the colleagues that are still there, they are still doing it. And we wish it could be replicated to other faculties, because that's how our students can actually get the connection with the library, and not just to see the library as a place full of books, but as a library, as a place of engaging. I also talk to the special events, not just the library week. We have events like Heritage Day, where people like Majesty can come and be part of the library. Yeah.
Very good. Yes.
Okay, I think maybe with the way the questions came and the discussion, it now take us to how do we see the new library, the digital library. So what I will discuss on is about the new library in our language, the digital library. First of all, I would like to say that we have archives and libraries. And in most cases, these two entities, they are misused or misplaced when people speak. So in the archives, we speak of a place where most of the unwanted books are preserved. In most cases, in their physical format. When we speak of the library, we are speaking of something that can be flexible, or that is going to be flexible, where physical materials can be digitized to be in electronic format. And that is another way of making space in the physical library. And then in that context is that now I'm going to be brutal on the colleagues who are more still on the physical code, because as I said, I am an institutional repository specialist. My focus is on making resources to be available electronically. Whatever you do as your master's dissertation and PhD thesis, my role is to make sure that such product end up being accessible worldwide. Meaning that for it to be accessible worldwide, it must be on electronic format. We curate, we receive from, there's a workflow. The moment it arrives at my space, it means that you as the author of that PhD or master's, you have a consent to make it accessible, meaning for free. One of my job with Mr. Wong is to advocate for information must be accessible for free. So we call it open access and open publishing. So it is better that now I must change my tune to say I am advocating for electronic register. Space will be there. Space can be there if we all come together and agree that books have been there.
Boy, books of what?
Books have been there. Like if you go to this library now, Wattenweda, each and every shelf, floor, there are shelf of books. But like, there was a question that students have not visited the library. The question must be, have they not visited the physical library or digital library? Because most of the students, according to my engagement, is that they do get assignment to go. Part of your assignment, you must reference 5 authoritative sources, meaning that they go on digital library, they access such in the electronic library. So it means that they do visit the library, but the digital library, not the physical part. And then I just want to tell you that archives and library is one of the entities that we as workers are called after the building. Archives is an archivist, library workers and librarians. so those things, they make us to be so in love with these things. Yeah. So the question was that as Wits library, do we allow ourselves to be stuck in the history, whereas other libraries around the world, they are now digital. For example, if you go across the road, Batting Road, UJ, you may think that there are no books, because almost every space, it is more accessible to users. People do have coffee machines each and every floor. What happened to books? Books are still there, but they are put in the archives. The one that people are still using currently, they are available on digital. So in this way, I want to quote the Wits University 2030. Why I'm quoting, I don't want to speak something that tomorrow Wits will say you will lie. So the Wits University 2030 strategic framework, it says that it talks about a future that to become the leading research-intensive institution in the global south. And then central to this transformation is the libraries, which will evolve into modern, flexible, and digital integrated learning hubs. What does it mean? I don't want to foretell something that people will hear maybe for 2016. And the Sister Wongi will bail me if I'm challenged. That the library management is in the process of presenting its way of to the whole of investment to say we want to make sure that the library becomes like I don't want to say where students will feel like, hey, if I'm bored, I'm going to the library, because it's no longer that part where I'm going to study and sleep, but I can be able to sit and enjoy in the comfort, interact with other students. It's no longer that place when you make units, you'll be here, shh. It's a place where when you talk, you are making someone hear you to understand that we are engaging as a society. The library, for example now, I'm sorry to bring this one. When we interact in the university structure, the question is that when students are in the library, why is a student, for example, a disabled student, a disabled learner, has to go out of the library to just get water? Why?
Shouldn't be.
Why? Because inside you are disturbing someone who is already focusing on something. So this library, maybe from 2016, it will be more of like my second home, your child's second home. Because when I come to the library, I know that I can find water. I will be able to be allowed to bring my coffee. Now people are, when you enter the library, you're told, leave your food, leave your what? Who's eating those food? It means that for me to eat, I must come back to the security and say, where's my food? This is, no, I don't know. I was not at work. You see, so those are the things that in the university, the people are engaging to make the reimagining of the library for the 21st century. So don't be surprised to when we integrate the writing and reading center into the new format of library. We are not going to take away these nice things, but we'll make sure that those that are useful are digitized, so that even people who are, you remember COVID taught us a lesson. There were a lot of things that were stuck because people were not proactive to say, what if something happened? I'm going to be able to interact. So for reading and writing center must not stop because of certain pandemic. You need to continue to say, we are offering our service because our staff is also available on digital platforms. So, sorry to cut.
That's okay.
The previous libraries, especially community libraries, they were more helpful. What I'm saying is that I want to bring something to the table that most of people may not be aware. When someone, let's say in the community, there was a crime, there's murder, for the real detective to find the perpetrator, he or she will visit the community library to say, is there anyone around the community who came and looked for a book about how to kill somebody? So most of people were arrested because because of the library. You remember they used to use the cut catalogs. They will go and look, so Pamela
Google would be much more efficient.
Yeah, you remember those times there were no Google. So
Yeah.
they will go say, oh, Pamela was here. He took 3 books about how to kill somebody. So they will, it means that the detective will narrow his investigation to the people who are on the counter. And it was easy for those people to arrest the right person. But nowadays, because people depend on digital, you especially when you go to Google, say how to, it will give you multiple information, and then the library will call it information overloading. Some of the information are even useless. So most of people, I'm trying to say that they become lazy because they're depending on digital platforms. But that does not mean that I'm advocating for something wrong. I'm still going to say, as vets, researchers, writing center, let's advocate for open public, because the more you put your work on digital platform, you are going to be cited, you are going to increase your citation, you are going to increase your popularity. You may find that you are invited to America, but you say, how? Because someone went to where this space or open data vaults and see that Professor Pam did something. So what I'm trying to say is that we have a support of Wits University 2033 strategy framework as the library to digitize to make our libraries more. Yes, we have more than 10 libraries, but not every library will go at the same time. People are talking about William Cullen. I'm impressed by the way you are speaking about William Cullen. I used to work there, and then yes, that library to some people is the old library. People see it as a library that was collected. But the way people are speaking, they saw something that library, the space on its own is more of modern.
Or embracing.
Yes, it makes people to be free. I don't most of people, they are searched what is inside your bag, because they know that when you bring that, you're not going to pour it in a book. You are not in the archive, that's the library. Thank you, colleagues.
People, we have 5 minutes left. So, burning, yes. Yes, Terence.
Thank you. Yes, I don't know where to start, but I think there are long histories about how libraries are constituted within museums themselves.
Yes.
I think that's what I was talking about when I was saying regarding the space. So perhaps if the library can get into an interdisciplinary discussion with the museum to see what are the, I think the book has got a conceptual value. Book is a conceptual and it's also a physical. In its conceptual, it has a marketing value. In its physical, it has an artistic value. So I think now reducing the book to a conceptual, it might kill some of the possible things that we can trace through the book. So I think it is important to find a balance, between digitalizing of books, and because my question is, what happens with those books that are once they're digitalized?
Actually, I'm with you. Because I was desperate to say that, all right, you're digital, but look after the archive.
Yes.
Because heaven knows what's in, there might be mistakes, there might be interesting things in those ancient books. And when I did my PhD, it was in the British Library, and I was looking at books that nobody had looked at for 100 years. I could cut them. It was so exciting. But also, that the digital, the tech people can do stuff with that. But we need the resources when they were, the Library of Alexandria, the old books. We need everything. I'm not having the last word. Somebody else. Yes. All right. No. Ivan, Zimitri, Leyya.
Very quickly, if you take Mr. Management, the place, a library is a place where you find librarians. And I've never encountered anywhere in the world visiting any university where you didn't run in, you couldn't speak the language, you didn't know what it was like, you didn't even, using cataloging systems you don't understand, you find the librarian, and the librarian actually never asks you, why do you want to bake the cake? The librarian says,
Yes.
let me help you, even when you can't speak the language of the librarian. And at that point, the library is about the librarians. So if you want to make the library better, put in more librarians. Okay, put in more librarians. So what you want to do is, you want to say you're doing it for love and not for the money. No, get a bonus. Okay, put that on the agenda for management, and good luck with it. But you want more librarians, because that's what drives the library.
And knowledgeable ones.
Yeah. Okay. I really think that, yes, digitization is important, but we also are thinking about digitization in a context where climate change is going to mean more power outages. AI is using so much energy that having things digitized might in the future mean that they're completely and utterly inaccessible. So I would want us not to stop buying real books. That's the one thing. And if our library management can get the government to get the post office back on its feet, the post office is the most important way in which people actually get access to books. In the US, the post office works like, I don't know, it's just, you know, you order something today, you order a book today, and in 3 days you have it at your doorstep. So we need to reinvigorate the post office. Because, yeah, and I mean, I know that this sounds old-fashioned, but we cannot, we also are prioritizing digital literacy. What about older people who are not digitally literate? They read too, you know. And for me, yes, open access is very, very important, but all of us are now extremely cautious about what we put where on these open access spaces, because it gets stolen by AI. So we really need to think very carefully about, you know, this kind of, and excuse the pun, but a moonshot, you know, approach to digitization, and forget about the earth shot of the book.
I'll try to be brief. The Wits vision you read out triggered me. But because I think, I mean, that's 4 years away, and if 4 years away, and that's being generous, including the actual 30th year, but it would, and this is something that like I'd love for like Wits management, but also library management, and consider what it means to have the leading library or institution in the global south. And what it means that 4 years away from that, the current kind of, you know, envisioned to be leading library in the global south is completely inaccessible, right? Before you even get to the library, you've got security at the campus, the whole campus is closed off. When you eventually, by some luck, get to the library, you've got the scan thing.
It's not working.
It's not working, or just it's there, right? Like it's there, the fact that you have to scan in.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fact that like, then if that's not working, you have to show some proof of citizenship or proof of, you know, university citizenship just to then get through. By the time you get through, it's like, okay, well now you also can't have your food or beverage. You've suffered so many like indignities before you enter the library. And it's horrible, because now what type of like mindset are you in to be curious and creative and passionate and think and enjoy and all of these things. And so I think there's like something like culturally, when we're talking about like the reading and writing cultures that we develop in our institutions as well, that's gone a bit skew, and I don't know how we work together to bring it back, because especially now, like listening to everyone and like why are we here and why you're here, kind of doing the work you're doing. Like, how do we bring that into the institutions themselves, you know, into the structure, so that the student who then finally gets to the library and wants to now work on their research, you know, isn't completely demotivated, aside from all the other kind of navigations with the institution around fees, funding, etc., etc., etc. And so I don't know if there's like a not like interdisciplinary, but like a way to work together so that our departments are also not siloed from the library and what the library is trying to do. Hopefully like support you guys in what you're doing, so that a vision like that becomes something hopefully that's more inclusive and accessible, rather than, and that's why I said triggered, words on the page, you know, and that's more of an act to Wits management than anyone in the room now.
Thank you. I think we have to finish. Oh, you want to?
I just want to, I know Pamela has already touched on this. To answer some of your questions, you can go to the library without even visiting the physical library, because currently most of the books that are being bought, they are also electronic books. So sitting at home, you can also read the book from the library, apart from the archives. So the library, I think it's on the policy, there is more buying on the e-side of the books. And then also there is it's a virtual working in the library. I'm not too sure if it's currently on, but I know. So you can also go around the library without going physically in the library. So yeah, the library is moving toward accommodating, making sure that the library, that the users, they feel comfortable. Because even if you enter the library, you feel the space on the ground level, that the environment is accommodating.
We do have to finish.
Briefly. Just to as I'm listening to what you talk about, you touch something very, very serious. That we may have a vision, but if the top management is not supporting that, it is just a waste of energy and exercise. But what I can tell you is that, likely enough, in the university, before we talk their structures, the discussion that we are having now, it has been structured, like we have library committees that are in Senate, we have university forums where we are pushing the whole idea of making sure learners and academics have a conducive library that will be able, like the way you're saying, the whole of university system, it depends on the climate change. If you can't scan by coming in, it means that you're already exhausted in your mind. It affects your mind already, psychological. That the moment you go to the library, you're encountering a figure, they say, where is your card? Already, the moment you sit down, you're already exhausted. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever discussion you are bringing up, it has been on the upper level. And then Sister Bongi knows, and then the management is also taking this thing. It's not an easy thing. But I can say that, fortunate enough, we have the support of our DVC, Prof. Morris, and then also Dean of Students, Mr. Jorem September. They know about this thing. And then when we sit in structure of the university, we will push together. We also have SRC that is also involved, that is pushing more of what we presented. So it may not be for me now, but for the future generation. I talk about the disabled learners. Some of them, they don't even have, if the scale is not working, how can they access the library? You find the security still asking a wheelchair-bound learner, where is your student card? A student was able to come to the university, but in the library, you are already within the university. Yes. It means that you use some means to be in the library, you are still asked Where is your access card? Why do you have a scanner? Because the scanner is a biometric, but you still ask someone where is your access card. So to me, there is a contradiction. Yeah, so, but such a topic are being discussed, and then so to say this, fortunately enough, I'm also a deputy chairperson of the University Forum that is discussing this issue. So your issues are going to be taken.
Good.
And then we are also having deans of students in that faculty, and also professors' committees and stuff. So the issues have been discussed.
I think Christina has the last word.
Hi everyone.
Everyone.
Christina. Mr. Matamela.
Da.
I'm going to talk sorry because my English
Yes.
It's okay.
to disturb me. Sorry, what I'm raising a point so like the Kupa Hori, more library level. Rabana Halea baby to the library because for a usually you do something more library. Seven for included. We are not part of library. We have our own department. So I don't know if we can like what's in more library. And I know I can and the micro of any key that are going to be the keys. But at the end of the day, Rabatuka Fella as one of us here, I will who Satin Gadijo library, who talk. So what about Ulukamukha library? Ubereka Kamukha library, Marusa Homu Tassan is very painful. The Recopa Lono way says seriously with geese if you are looking safe. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what she's raising is more of an issue that, like I said, some of the issues will be taken to the registrars because that is more about when we speak of integrating even the library, why do you leave other people outside? Because, for example, if she's from a service department, when she's in the library, if the library is having an event, why do you isolate those people? Why do you invite somebody outside and then, but when you need someone to clean, you call this person that you say you must not be part of this event. So those are the things that, like it's raising, they need to be dealt with, and then it is more of trying to have that African sense of Ubuntu. What happened to Ubuntu? It does meaning that Ubuntu when it fits me, because what is raising is very touching stuff. You cannot isolate somebody, but when you need someone to come and clean that dirt that was led by someone invited from outside, you call that person and say, you must not be part of this event. Thank you, Christina, for raising that.
Okay, good. And we'll finish there. Thank you for unmuting.